And I'd like to welcome you all to our Lunch Club Travel Edition, where Lou will be doing a recap of his Italy trip. So, just like last week for Tanzania, I look forward to all the pictures and the videos. Let's make sure to keep our TVs and cell phones in mind, you all. But besides that, Lou, the floor is yours, and I look forward to your session today.
Oh, thanks. Thank you, Alex. Yeah, let me just I'm gonna share my screen here. Hold on. Uh all right. And then I want to take you out on a little bit of a journey with me if that's okay. Let me just see if I can get this sharing right. So, I'm actually taking you to this site right here. Can you all see it?
Yeah, you're good to go, Lou.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, good. In fact, let me I'm going to go back to I'm going to stop sharing because I forgot to share my audio. I'm going to share my audio as well. Okay, share my sound, share. Great. Okay, and then I'm going to go to this site here. Okay, so this is a really important trip for me, this trip to Italy. I was gone for it was 19 days. It was a lot longer than I planned originally. And that's because ever since I got married, my wife has been, and I've been married now for 35 years. My wife has been saying she wants me to take her to Italy. She wants me to take her to Italy. So my arthritis is getting real bad. I know I can only walk so much each day. So I figured I got to do this now before it's too late. So I knew we had to go to Rome. That was like a pin in the map because I have a nephew who is in the seminary in Rome, and she wanted to visit. We all wanted to visit him. His name is Stephen Sharp, great guy, young man. And so we knew that. And then I also knew that when I travel, I love to go to the small towns. I mean, everybody wants to go to the big towns, you know. So in Italy, you got Venice, you got Florence, you got, all these Milan, you got all these really famous big towns. But, I knew we'd be renting a car, and driving in Italy is a nightmare. So, and driving in a big city in Italy is a nightmare times 10. So I also knew that, I might not want to drive in the big cities so much. So what I did is I went on this website. I found this website. It's called the 50 most beautiful towns in Italy. Y'all see this right here? And so when I constructed the trip, I began with this site, knowing the region I was going to go. I was going to land in Rome, and then I was going to travel around this area right here. And so I constructed the trip based on stringing together these little villages. So I looked at each province. So here's a province right here. That's Mount Vesuvius in this picture right here. And I sort of strung together, well, where are all the beautiful towns? And so this is something called the Amalfi Coast, Fiore and Trani and Aborti, and then these are all little towns along the way. And so then I knew we'd be up in this area, so I clicked on this one, and I put a lot of research. I mean, a tremendous amount of research into these small towns. So, like, for example, if I went onto this small town right here, I mean, look how beautiful that is. And you would just drive right by that if you didn't know it was there. And that's the thing with these small towns, that if you didn't know they were there, you just drive right by it, never see it in the first place. So I strung our trip together by going to these small towns. So here's a map of Italy, and I knew I wanted to start in Rome, Italy. So I'm going to start in Rome. So I knew I was starting in Rome. There's Rome right there. And then I basically strung together these small towns. So when we went from Rome, we landed at the airport right here, Fiumicino Airport. We caught a bus into downtown Rome. We spent a couple of days in downtown Rome. And then we headed up country. So the first 10 days we traveled with my son, Matthew. He's been contemplating joining the seminary himself and becoming a Franciscan. So we took him for the first 10 days of the trip, or 9 days of the trip, or 8 days of the trip. And we headed towards Assisi, which was a famous town. And so we sort of said, okay, where are all the cool towns on the way to Assisi? And I used that little map right there and I strung them all together. So we went from Rome, and then we went to a beautiful small town here. It's Bragnano or something like that. You'll see it in a second. And then we crossed the country right here. We went to another beautiful small town. I think it was called Trani. And then we went to another beautiful small town. And then we went all the way up to Assisi right here. This is St. Francis of Assisi, very, very famous place. And then we headed down and we went to another small town, Spoleto, beautiful small town. And then we went down, and I deliberately didn't want to stay in Rome. So then we stayed in Tivoli outside of Rome because I had a car and I didn't want to drive into downtown Rome with a car. And then we went back to Rome, and then we dropped my son off. He flew out at Fiumicino Airport. And then my wife and I, we headed down we drove sort of along the coast. We went to this gorgeous little small town here that I'll show you in a second. And then from there, we drove to Pompeii. So Pompeii is way down here. So Pompeii, it was a long drive, like 3-hour drive, but it was fine. It wasn't too bad. Driving outside along the coast down to Naples to Pompeii. Y'all see Pompeii right here? So that's where the famous Mount Vesuvius blew up and all the ruins of Pompeii. And then we wanted to go to the Amalfi Coast, which is really, really famous. It's a really like super ritzy, expensive place. And we got the most wonderful hotel, and it was reasonably priced right on the ocean. It was just a magical place. And I'll show you pictures of that. And then we drove from there. So I'm driving in the car the whole time. They said this is like a really dangerous road. It actually wasn't that bad. The worst roads were in the cities. I mean, one time I had to drive on the curb up, almost hit a house because a truck was going the wrong way on a one-way, which happens all the time there. And it's so stressful. And that's why I was on the call with you all, at the Zoom call at the
I
same
was about to
time.
say, Lou, that happened when you was on the call with us.
I was on the call with you guys, yeah. So then we crossed, and I'll get into the pictures in a second. Then we crossed all the way across here. So I'll toggle back and forth, and
No, you didn't go all the way from there to there.
we crossed all the way there. So we rode down the
Oh
coast
my
this side.
goodness.
We crossed over. We hit this really cool city called Matera right here.
Uh-huh.
And then we drove back, and I think we all talked to you all in Matera, and then on the way back. So I'll refer back to this map a few times, just so you see where we're at. So without further ado, let's get into the pictures.
You did all of that in 19 days, Lou?
Yeah, it was a marathon trip.
That's amazing, you guys. Look at Lou's endurance is uncanny.
So yeah, it was I didn't feel like I was on vacation until I got home. It was like constant. We only stayed we stayed in a hotel more than one night, only 3 times in 19 days. Every day we were going to another place, and which was nice, but it also was a little stressful.
Is that your son in the middle?
That's my nephew. That's Stephen Sharp.
And he's a priest?
This one is a priest. We asked the same question.
So here we are in Rome visiting Stephen Sharp. He's in a seminary right in downtown Rome. Look how beautiful the streets are. We took him out to lunch right here in these old streets. And this is right downtown Rome. Of course, I got the lion's hat on, of course. And you're not going to believe that there was a guy wearing one of these hats in Tanzania. Same hat. Same exact hat.
Yeah, you showed us his picture.
Yeah, you showed us.
Oh, that was unbelievable. Okay, and then here we are having lunch together. This is called the Piazza Navona. It's a famous square in the city. So what they did during the medieval times, like 1300s, 1400s, 1500s, the builders would actually disassemble the old Roman structures, whether they were houses or things like that, and rebuilt them into these medieval structures. These are all dating back to the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s. So a lot of the ancient Roman structures, even though Rome was this massive city during the time of the Romans, ancient Rome, virtually all of their structures, except a few, were dismantled and used to build churches and the obelisks right here and everything else. It was just, which is understandable. If you got all that building material, right, your footprint, you might as well use it. So here we are. So we got there right when the Pope died. The previous Pope died, and so they were just announcing the conclave of the new Pope. So all the media was down there. They cleared the square. They're electing the new Pope. Now this was stunning. This is the inside of St. Peter's, arguably the largest cathedral in the world, and it was spit polished. It was in beautiful, beautiful condition. Look at that. It's just absolutely gorgeous inside, huge. But it was packed. I mean, it was absolutely packed because all the people, you can see that's all gold leaf. So this is the center of the Roman Catholic Church, of course, St. Peter's Cathedral, right in downtown Rome. And St. Peter himself is buried right under this. See this little canopy thing? St. Peter himself, Jesus' main apostle, is buried right underneath that. And just beautiful, beautiful. I just couldn't believe it. Here we are inside. We're attending Mass. Right here. Getting ready to attend the Mass. So they had the conclave of the cardinals there. That's when 130 cardinals come in from all over the world to elect the new pope. Cole, we were there during the Mass with all 130 cardinals. I mean, this is like once in a lifetime. So here the cardinals are coming down, and you'll even see the cardinal for the Archdiocese of Washington in the procession. The cardinals are the ones with the pointy hats.
Yeah.
And they're about to come right now. This procession was quite long, so I cut it off. Let me know if y'all recognize any of the cardinals here.
I think that was Bishop Cardinal Gregory, wasn't it?
Was it?
Wilton Gregory is his name.
Yeah, well, wasn't that Gregory that just passed a few months ago?
Was it?
Can you
look like
can you
him.
back it up? Can you back it up?
Yeah, I'm backing it up.
It looks like him. It walks like him.
I think I caught Wilton Gregory later on.
There he is, right? But back up a little bit more.
Yeah, he's African American.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's
him.
I think I caught him later on, though. I don't think he's here right now.
No, I don't see him yet.
Oh, I thought that was him that was just passed.
I got more pictures. I snapped him right when he came by. I mean, this line went on forever. They had a number of African cardinals there. But
yeah, that's something new.
Yeah.
The church in Africa, the Catholic Church in Africa is
we were hoping that they would elect an African pope. I mean, a lot of people were praying for that, including us. They have some really good popes in Africa. I mean, they just kept coming and coming and coming. you'll see Cardinal Gregory here because I did catch him. Is that him right there? Is that him right there?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
so, yeah, that
Could
looks like
be.
him.
And this guy right here, I recognize him too, although I don't know who he is. That
Is-
guy looks really familiar. Who is that guy?
Isn't he the one from New York?
Which one?
The one in front of Gregory, isn't he the one from New York? I can't think of his name right now.
Oh, it could be. I definitely
He looks
recognize.
kind of like, I can't, I've even got my glasses on and I can't see real good, but
Yes. What a time to be in Rome, Lou, my
Yeah,
goodness.
can you believe that? It was
That's-
wild.
Yeah, that's Gregory right there, I
I think
believe.
it's Gregory right there.
that's him.
Yeah, that's a better picture of his face.
Mm-hmm.
See, I was tracking on him. I said, "Whoa, that's Milton Gregory right there."
Yes, absolutely. That's he.
All right, well, enough of these popes. Nothing.
Yeah.
So here we are, procession. I think I got. Well, I wanted to get him on the way out. So here they are departing.
Got some
There
great.
he is. Oh yeah,
Yeah, there he is.
there he is. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
that's our passports. So here we are in front. That's my son, my wife, and myself in front of St. Peter's. I don't know what that was. Here's this is like, I think, Trajan's. This is a Roman site. So now we're heading to the Roman Colosseum. So here we are. It's a temple to Emmanuel, one of the kings. It was hot, but I couldn't even imagine. We went there. This was April, end of April. I couldn't imagine. And here we are. That's the Colosseum. So that they disassembled a lot of the Colosseum to build a lot of these structures. The only reason it was saved at all was because one of the popes liked the procession along this route right here. This is one of the main streets, and they would hold processions, and he liked the backdrop, so he made sure that they didn't completely disassemble it. So here we are inside the Colosseum, and lots of interesting things here. We took a tour, and we just paid to go inside. We did? We downloaded one of the Rick Steves podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We downloaded it to our phone to save money, and it was really good. It was just as good as being with one of the leaders. And we played it in our iPhones, and then we put earphones on, and we just all went site to site. So this is really an amazing structure, given that it's 2,000 years old.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, and you know what's amazing about it? This thing was in operation as a stadium. I mean, it seated 50,000 people. 50,000 people sat in this thing. And you can see some of the chairs are still there. All the marble chairs were robbed to build other buildings. You see the slanted things. Most of them had already collapsed. This used to be sloped all the way around. They're all decked out with chairs. It was all decked out with chairs up here too. Held 50,000 people. And amazingly, this stadium was in operation for over 500 years. I mean, can you imagine that? A stadium in operation for over 500, that's twice as old as our country.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember reading that in a book. I think it was National Geographic that did a thing on the Colosseums. If not that, it was the Smithsonian. And my mother used to collect things on special stuff, and I have that in my basement.
Oh yeah,
that magazine. Mm-hmm.
I got to get back to the mindset. I think I shared this on our trips. You know, as we got into the Coliseum, listening to Rick Steves, listening to how carefully. They had all these pulleys under. This is underneath the floor. They had all these chambers and pulleys for raising animals and gladiators up. You know, the pre-Christian world in this part of Europe, or at least in Europe, was so brutal. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, just watching people fight to the death, you know, capturing men, women, and children, and having them slay each other in a stadium while other people are watching. I mean, it's like something out of a science fiction horror show. And this would happen every day. They had these slayings. They would capture the people they conquered, only to have them fight to the death in these rings. I mean, it was just unbelievably brutal culture. Brutal.
That's
brutal.
like the Hunger Games.
Yeah, yeah, or if not worse, you know. And they would just all these ways of killing them, whether they were getting killed by each other or by rhinoceros or lions. I mean, and they're, you know, everybody's cheering it on, and the emperor's trying to find more gruesome ways of people to get killed. They actually had a sea battle in here. They actually filled it with water, and they had a sea battle. Everybody got killed in the sea battle as well. I mean, they really did it up as good as any stadium today. So here, lots of pictures. You can see these chambers. These are all the chambers under the floor where they would store the animals and store the gladiators. Very, very, very brutal.
So here we are in the Colosseum. The north side I'm facing now, it's mainly intact. You can see the sloping area where the seats would have been. And then down here is the arena.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll go fast. I think we went through this. We got a lot to cover here. Here we are on the outside. Now, one of the things that I liked a lot was the Roman Forum. So here we are going into the Roman Forum. So what is the Roman Forum? This was like the main drag of Rome. I mean, a lot of the famous stuff that happened in Rome happened in the Forum, and it was amazing. Oh, look at that pizza! Wow, is that all? I don't have any pictures of the Forum. What? I thought I took 12.5 pictures of the Forum. That is weird. That is not right. That is not right. I took so many pictures in there. Well, I'm gonna have to check my phone. Well, anyway, so here's the Forum here. You're looking down it, you see the columns of temples that are long gone. They had baths where various people, where people would bathe. They had some of the doors of the buildings were still there, totally intact. I know I have those pictures. I'm a little concerned that I'm not seeing them here. This right here was one of the temples that they had. Huge temples, and in fact, the Catholic churches, the big basilica Catholic churches, were copied from Rome. And then here we are having a big pizza on the way out. And then this is a map of where we were. So our hotel was right here, and then we had to cross the bridge, get into the city. And I don't know why I have all this stuff on here. Okay, sorry about all this. Okay, so then we rented a car. Time to get out of Rome. I didn't want to have a car in Rome. So we rented a car the last day in Rome, and we drove it out of there. Hey, folks, let me tell you something. This is an MG. Of course, I took a video of it because I was afraid they would claim that I damaged it. So I took a full video. So we rented this car for about 2 weeks.
Yeah, close the door.
It was a 2-week rental, a little more than 2 weeks, 2 weeks and 2 days. The total rental cost me about $500, which wasn't bad.
That's really good, Lou.
What was interesting is that originally it was $900, and then I checked it the day before we flew out, and they had lower prices. I canceled that reservation. That's a good thing. If you ever rent a car, I rented it without paying in advance, with the not full knowledge that they might cut the prices if they have extra cars, right before I was going to pick it up, which is exactly what happened. And so I canceled my previous reservation, which I didn't have a deposit on it, so I could do that. And then I picked up a brand new reservation the day before we flew out. I saved $400 on the car. So just a tip for car rentals. Took a video all the way around. So let me tell you, folks, this car is made in China. And I don't think we import cars from China in the United States. This is a very well-made car. And it's a cheap car. It's not an expensive. This is a low-end model. The Chinese bought the MG name from England. And it was a solid car. Oh my gosh. I feel sorry for Detroit if the Chinese ever enter our markets, because it was a solid car. So here's one of the little towns we found. So this town was not even on the trip. Here we are heading out to this little town. And this is what I'm talking about. That you got to find the little towns.
Okay, Matthew.
So this is a little town. You would never know it was there. You'd have driven right by it.
That's awesome.
Hey guys, what do you think of the town here?
So cool.
Oh my gosh, it's so great. It's incredible.
So I'm going to show you. Let me show you, toggle out real quick. So we just left Rome. This little town right here is right on this lake. See this lake right here? This big old lake? It's right on this lake. It's right over here on this side of the lake. And it was just drop dead gorgeous little town. So I'll go to the next one.
Oh, on video.
There's the
No, on
lake.
video.
There's the lake. Beautiful lake. Beautiful lake. And here's the town itself. Here's the town. Here's a town. So here we are walking down the streets. This beautiful little town.
Hey guys, let's go for a stroll.
Let's go for a stroll.
All right. We're not sure where we're going.
So a lot of Europe is like going down these really narrow streets, because back in the medieval times, of course, they didn't have cars, and they had just carts that they hauled things around in. So the streets are real narrow, but they're just really wonderful.
Yeah.
And here's a castle.
Okay.
Guess who was married in this castle? See that castle right there? Guess who was married in that castle? Where is that castle? Guess who was married in this castle?
Who?
George Clooney.
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. Oh.
Tom Cruise. We found that out from one of the locals. That castle was Tom Cruise was married there.
Oh.
He rented the whole castle out for his wedding. Okay, so then we went to this next little town. Check this place out. This town is it's an abandoned town. So in Italy, the small towns, they build them on top of these hills. And so here is this other little small town. It's called Calcutta. Would never even know it existed. And here we are walking down the city of Calcutta.
Hey Matthew, where is this place?
What's it called?
Calcutta. So it's an old medieval mountaintop village in Italy. And here we are roaming the streets of the village.
So my wife gave me a thumbs down on this. We almost stayed in this town. Thank gosh we didn't, because it was sort of run down. So that we actually stayed in this town. So this is another hilltop town. They're all very similar. You see how they're mountain something on top of a hill there? And then this is not a road. This is a walkway to get to this town. So my arthritis was really kicking in here. Here we are on the way to this town. this is a class. It's called Borgonino or something like that. I never would have known that it even existed had I not checked that website out that I showed you earlier. We would have just driven right by this. So here we are going up to the town. We had a coffee in the town. Oh no! So now we left that town. I'm missing a lot of pictures. I'm concerned about that. So here's my son. He's giving us a pose. I don't know about that pose. And here we are having a coffee. This was one of our favorite towns. I'm forgetting the name now. I think I told you in the last broadcast. Here we are. Yeah, now I'm doing a little modeling myself. The coffees were really cheap. They were €1, which is like $1, and you get a whole latte for $1. So if you know how to once you get into the rhythm, traveling in Italy is a lot cheaper than traveling in the United States. But you got to get into the right rhythm, because if you go into the big towns and you're not careful, you could spend a fortune. But if you sort of go to the out of the way places and the small towns, it's really inexpensive. I mean, hotels. I'll show you some of these hotels. We'd spend like $80 a night, $70 a night. This is a very famous cathedral. This is, I think I shared last time, the miracle of the Eucharist, when the Eucharist had the image of Jesus in it and was bleeding. And it took place in this cathedral. Here's actually a picture of the bleeding Eucharist. I zoomed in on my camera.
Hey guys, where are you?
So this is the town of Orvieto. This is what I'm talking about, folks. If you were a typical American tourist, you would not know this town even existed. But
Okay, Matthew, I'm shooting a video here. So where are you, Matthew?
We're in
Orvieto.
Orvieto.
Show us around here, Matthew. Tell us about this place.
Nice little shops all around here. Gorgeous street here, another nice little shop.
So this is where Italians go to vacation. There were very, very few non-Italian tourists. And because of that, the prices were all reasonable.
We're gonna save some souls in purgatory.
It was a very nice town. It was one of our favorite towns. And this is, I think I showed you this picture in the past. This is the well at Orvieto. One of the popes fled to Orvieto from Rome during a time when Rome was at risk of being under siege. And they caused them to dig this well. And you could actually walk down this well, which we did. You walk to the bottom of it, and it's many, many, many stories down. And now here we are. You can see the water on the bottom of it.
Hey guys, we made it to the bottom. We made it to the bottom of the well. Hooray! There's people coming down. There's people coming down. There's people coming down. And there's people going up. Oh my gosh, what a well. What a well. What did you think, Matthew? How was it? Matthew, what's your testimony? Is that you, Matthew?
All right, well, anyway, that's the well.
What you doing, Matthew?
Okay, well then we drove from Orvieto to Assisi. This is St. Francis of Assisi. He was from a small town. I mean, probably the most famous, one of the most famous saints of all time, St. Francis of Assisi. I'm actually wearing one of his crosses around my neck right now. See that? So we had a park underground, and I had to take a picture because it was so complicated. And here we are in Assisi. So yeah, so here's this. So again, this is a typical small town in Italy. This one was overrun by tourists. Tourists from all over the world come to this church here. This is a cathedral for Saint Francis, and it's a super famous cathedral because it has some of the most famous artists. And Rick Steves has a killer podcast on this. So we watched the Rick Steves podcast throughout the whole thing. We learned about all the different sites. You know, this is a very typical town. There's a castle. This is a medieval castle on top of the hill. Here's the town down here. It's a beautiful town. And then here we are inside. So this is This is St. Francis's cross. It's the kind of cross he had. These are the frescoes by Giotto. He's one of the most famous artists to ever live. And this is actually the tomb of St. Francis. He's buried right underneath there. Oh no, that's St. Clare. That's actually one of the saints, St. Clare. She's buried in there. Here's some trinkets. Here we are in the streets. I got to move quicker. I got to check the time. Here we are on the streets. You see how pretty it is. It's a really pretty place.
You're good, Lou. You have 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna go high speed now because I'm barely into the trip still. And then here we are, here we are. Okay, now where is this? Wow, that was a big skip. So I'm missing some pictures. So we went from all the way from up there. Now we're down in an area called Tivoli. And this is Hadrian's castle. So Hadrian was one of the emperors of Rome. And Rome got really hot in the summertime, sort of like how DC gets in the summertime. And so the emperor would build these villas in the mountains, and the mountain city where all the emperors built their villas was called Tivoli. And the emperors would have competitions who could build the most grand, villa. Not all that different than today, to be honest with you, where some of these super rich people have these villas that they, show off. And so here we are in Hadrian's Villa.
Outside of Rome in a city called Tivoli. The Emperor Hadrian, who was one of the most significant emperors of Rome, built this as his retreat villa. And the structures and preservation are pretty amazing. There's tubs and baths and chambers and gardens, and pretty intense.
So you can see we're out of the city here. It's sort of like a country estate. And you can see some of the archwork.
Doesn't look very safe.
Yeah, it's a little precarious walking around in there. You'd think this thing's going to collapse on you any minute. I like this. I mean, look at those arches, they don't look too sturdy, but they let us walk around. But now look at this pool. This is really intact. Isn't that beautiful? They have these statues all around it with columns and, this beautiful outdoor thing.
I got you guys on video. What do you think of Hadrian's villa? Pretty amazing, isn't it?
Very peaceful.
Totally, so much of it's intact, right? To see Roman marble floors and Roman pools and
the fish. These fish are from a long time ago.
Same fish.
Same fish. Look at this, a Roman pool, Roman statues. Unbelievable.
Oh, okay. So this is one of the funky hotels we stayed at. This is our door to our hotel. It was a little sketchy. It took us a while to find it. We found it finally. Here we are on the streets of Tivoli. We had to get into this box right here to get to our hotel room. The room was nice, but the area it was in was like, a bit of a slum, to be honest with you. But the room itself was nice, and it was only like $50, so you couldn't beat the price. And here we are in the morning in Tivoli, get some fruit. And then I like Tivoli. You can see it's out of the country. It's only about an hour out of Rome, but it's like 20 degrees cooler. So now we stop back in Rome one last day to say goodbye to Rome, because we're dropping our son off now because he's going to fly out and it'll be just me and my wife. So I got 15 minutes to cover the whole second half of our trip, because after my son left, we stopped back in St. Peter. Okay, so here we are. My son left. He headed off to the airport. He flew off. Then we headed down. I am missing so many pictures. I am so bothered. Here we are in this beautiful small. This is a small town. Where is this? Okay, this is a small town that we found on the map. And it was by a lake. We never would have known this town even existed except for that website I showed you. And here we are in this small town. This town is known for strawberries. They have a lot of these really great strawberry trees. And it got cold, by the way. We went through a real cold stretch. It got real cold. And then after that, we went down to Pompeii. So here we are in Pompeii. I'm going to go real fast through Pompeii. So this is the Roman village that was buried by Mount Vesuvius. And so preserved in it were all the original Roman painted walls, because it was all buried in ash. And here's the streets of Pompeii.
Endless, doesn't it? I mean,
it's all pretty much
apparently
intact.
There's 20,000 inhabitants, block after block after
So
block.
all of Rome was like this at one time,
excavated
except the Christians and the
houses.
occupants after ancient Rome. They picked all the masonry clean to build other things. Except in Pompeii, it was buried under ash. Look at this. This whole thing is intact. It was all buried under ash. The roof, the walls, the floors, everything. It's intact. And you wouldn't... It actually doesn't look that much different than modern day. In some ways, it's nicer than modern day. And this is how Romans lived 2,000 years ago.
This archaeological site make it looks endless.
And this site goes on and on and on and on. I'm showing you the expanse of it.
There's
a lot of it has
Vesuvius
not been
there.
excavated yet.
Top blown off.
Definitely more sturdier than modern day.
Yeah, right. Yeah, our houses nowadays last like 50, 60 years and they fall apart. Because they're made out of wood. Everything was made out of stone. There's Mount Vesuvius, by the way. The top blew off. And here's the people. Y'all remember that story? So these people hid behind this wall when the pyroclastic flow hit, and they were all killed in place and then buried in ash. And then their bodies rotted out. And then when it got excavated, the excavators noticed these hollow areas in the ground. They couldn't figure out, why are these areas hollow? So they they poured plaster into the hollow areas, and they created these casts. These are the actual casts of the people where they died and how they died. And they're gasping for air, or they're choking, or they're holding their child, or, because they all died almost instantly, because the pyroclastic flow is 600 degrees. And when it hit them, it just incinerated their lungs, and they died almost instantly. And so you can see the positions of their bodies when they died. Here's what is this? This is maybe a husband and a wife. Very tragic, of course. And this person had died in a reclining position. This talks about the story of how they died. And then this shows the insides of some of the walls, how intact they are. Again, it's just remarkable to have that kind of preservation. The only thing that's not original are the bushes. I mean, these folks live pretty nice. There's the Roman floors. There's some skeleton action there. And here's the so a lot of the ceilings that had that were arched ceilings, they survived the weight of the ash. The parts that were made out of wood or they weren't arched, they collapsed under the weight of the ash. And so here we are in Pompeii. So now I'm gonna go fast. So now we're heading. Oh my God, there's still so much more to see. Now we're in the city of Sorrento. So this is like a really high-end place. We bought my daughter this thing. It's in the Amalfi Coast. So I'm gonna go real fast here. So here we are. So here is the city of Sorrento, and now we jumped on a boat and we took a boat for $25. We took a boat to the island of Capri. So here we are taking a boat to the island of Capri. It's off the coast of, and here we are leaving. Oh, so here we are leaving Sorrento. Still leaving Sorrento. Still leaving Sorrento. A lot of cliffs, you know, beautiful seaside stuff. And then here, that's the island of Capri right there. Here we are approaching the island of Capri. And so the upper part of the island is where all the action is. The lower part, a lot of people don't even get to the upper part because you have to walk up a big
Just arrived on the island of Capri. Pretty cool place. About to check it out.
So here we are here, and now we managed to walk up the hill. Now we're walking up the hill, going higher up the hill. A lot of lemon trees. A lot of lemon trees. Keep going now. Once we get
lots
to the
of
top,
tourists here on the island of Capri.
A lot of tourists there.
These are all the shops. What do you think, Monique?
So there's a lot of tourists there on the island. Now here we are back in Sorrento again. So now they got this really famous liqueur called limoncello. I bought that big old bottle right there. My wife and I got tipsy every night. So here we are in the Amalfi Coast. So this is the most amazing hotel. I love this hotel. This is the highlight of our trip.
This is our hotel on the Amalfi Coast. Unbelievable. Unflippin' believable.
So they have walkways along the coast for you to get from town to town.
This is our hotel.
And then, but our hotel was right at this little small port. So here I am sitting on drinking our liquor.
Check this hotel out we're staying at on the Amalfi Coast.
And well, amazingly, the hotels there are like $1,000 a night. We got this hotel for about $140 a night. We stayed there for 2 nighs, and it was like a total highlight of our trip. So you see these walkways along the water? This is how you get from town to town. You walk along these little walkways carved into the side of the cliff. Here's our hotels right in this little cove right here. And then here we are on the walkway at night. It's carved right in the side of the mountain. And then here we are swimming. It's my wife swimming there. That's me swimming there.
Here we are on a long walk from our hotel along the waterfront. And interestingly, this is the way out of here to get to town. So this is where we went swimming earlier today, and now we're gonna take a walk out. And I think Monique has already left, so I'm gonna go for a walk myself. This will be a long video. This is sort of spooky. Oh, there she is. Hey Monique, how are you? I'm doing a long video. Can you go for a walk here? So this is our walk out of our hotel to the town. This is a little fishing port that our boat is. We're actually in.
Well, I'll go faster. So here we are walking out of the town. That's a view from above for a hotel. I'm gonna have to go real fast. I got like 5 minutes left. So here we are in the town of Positano. This is the main town in the Amalfi Coast. Now, I didn't like this town. This town is probably the most ritzy, wealthy town in Italy, and it was almost ridiculous because the way people would dress up, everybody acts like they're a model on some magazine walking around, and it was almost comical just watching people modeling as they're walking. Like, here's a good example. It's the one right there. It's not what they're wearing, it's the look that they had in their face, like everybody is looking at them kind of look. It's like, give me a break. Give me a break. And they all walk around like that. So me and my wife, we just started laughing. Okay, let's see what the next one's gonna do, They're all posing as they're walking.
Like, look at me.
Yeah. I mean,
They were constantly in vogue.
Yep. I'm happy I got this picture. I didn't notice that because that's exactly what everybody looks like.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Here we are in the streets of Positano. I think you're gonna show us around.
So they sell these fabrics in there. I mean, it's a super ritzy town.
More
you
video
ever
of
read about the Amalfi Coast?
Positano.
This is the main town,
Streets
Positano.
of Positano.
You can't get a hotel for under $1,000 a night in this town. It's untouchable. Untouchable.
It's a mark.
It's ridiculous. Okay, and then here we are back in our hotel. So our hotel was not in Positano. It was in a... Oh, I had to get a picture of the breakfast buffet right here. Look at that. It was included. It's $140 a night, including the breakfast buffet.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, there are deals to be had in there. Okay, so I'm going to go real fast. So now here we are in the next city. So now we're going to the home of Padre
Walking to our
Pio.
hotel here.
So now we're going to our next hotel. This is
San
the town
Giovanni
where Padre Pio is from,
Rotondo.
a famous saint. The streets are really narrow in this
Where they
town.
make sure you.
Here's Padre Pio himself. He's incorrupt. He died 100 years ago, and this is what he looks like. This is actually him. He's incorrupt. They say he doesn't. He's not rotting. And so here we are. That's Padre Pio himself. I'm gonna go real fast.
How is that even possible?
Yeah, it's incorrupt. The Catholic Church says when people receive the heights of saintdom, their bodies don't decay.
Ooh.
And here's his church. I'm gonna go real fast now because we're really out of time. Okay, so now here we are in the church of Saint Michael the Archangel. This is the first location where Saint Michael the Archangel ever appeared. And this is a very cool place. Again, I would never have even known this existed. This is the Mass. It was inside of a cave. You had to walk deep in the cave. And then it is a gorgeous little town. Again, I would have never known it existed.
What time is this?
had I not
Video.
that
Oh,
website.
sure, I'll go up there. Oh, yeah. This is St. Nicholas.
Oh no, it's St. Nicholas. Now we're in Bari, the city of Bari. Bari is on the east coast of Italy. It's a great little town. We like Bari a lot. We parked our car. We got free parking. We went into the city. We got a great little hotel. Really nice. They had free concerts in the cathedrals at night. And our hotel was up in here. This is the crypt of Saint Nicholas. So this is Santa Claus. This is Santa Claus's burial crypt. He's buried under there. Santa Claus himself. And then here is this is the streets of Bari.
Here we are walking down the streets of Bari.
really a beautiful town. We like, so this is another
And then come on.
classic Italian town. Only Italians go to Bari.
Yes.
And
We have
everything
most
is
people in the
reasonable.
restaurant.
We got pizza dinner for like $8. You know, so if you travel with the Italians and you do the research
Come on, Monique.
and stay away from the tourists, Italy's
So
very
this is the streets
reasonable.
of Barry.
It's very reasonable. And here's our hotel. Or I think I mentioned our hotel was in a cave. So
Mhm.
this is
Here we are walking for our room in Polignano
oh,
Amar.
this is Polignano. This is a seaside town. We
Up
love this
to
town. This is just south of
the
Bari.
main square. Hey, Monique, what do you think? You like
So
it
this
here?
This is an Italian beachside
Beautiful.
city.
Let's see what we got.
A lot of
Oh, look,
Italians
there's a
vacation
church
here.
there. That's, oh, you know where Mom's going.
Polignano.
You know where she's headed. She's headed to the church. Right over here.
So a lot of the
Nice.
small towns have these little
Beautiful.
churches, which are nice. And check that out. That's the waterfront for the town. And I got more pictures of that. So the old town empties out into these vista points like that. Very famous town, Polignano. But only Italians go there. It's very popular
So,
for
here was the
Italians.
square in front of our hotel.
And here we are at sunset in Polignano, moving along here.
All right, Monique, show us this town. Polignano. Polignano Amir.
Oh my gosh, it's after 1 o'clock already. All right, so let me go fast. So that's
Here we are,
Polignano.
square.
You're gonna have to have
Here we
another.
are walking down.
Lou.
Yeah, we may have to. There's not too much left.
Yeah, this is so interesting, and you're going so fast. You should have done 2 sessions on this.
Yeah. And I could say that after Polignano, our next night was in Matera, and you guys all saw Matera, so this might
Right.
actually be a good time to end it. So Polignano, and so let me just do a quick recap of where we went then. So if you look at where we went, well, maybe I won't. Yeah, okay. So if you look at where we went from what we went. You saw we went to Assisi. We're in Assisi, which is way in the north here, and then we went back down to Rome, which is way down here, and then we cut across, went down to Pompeii, and then we went to that beautiful hotel I like, which is in the Amalfi Coast, which is down here. Then we cut across to the town where Padre Pio is, which is over here. You saw Padre Pio. And then we cut down to Bari. Remember Bari? Went to Bari, which is down here. And then we went to Polignano. Polignano was like right around here. And then I'm ending it there because the next stop that we have, significant stop, was Matera. And that's where I held the last show. It was in Matera. And then after Matera, we went back to, we cut across the country again. Oh, I got to show you one last place. Alex, can you give me one more second? There's one really cool place.
Entering.
So this is
we
a
are in
city called
Lorendotto.
Ostuni. And
Yeah, here.
Alex, cut me off if we're running too long.
Just share it, and then we'll say our thank yous.
Here we are in
This is a town. We went to a town called Ostuni. Now we're in Matera, and I want to skip through this whole thing.
Here we are.
Yeah, we all remember I showed this live from the actual site, and there's a lot of pictures there. But I wanted to show you this one cool place we went. We got hit by a lot of rain after this. Well, interestingly, it looks like I didn't upload the pictures after this, so I guess that is the end. All right, Alex. Well, that's it.
Well,
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you. This was amazing. It felt like we were just in Italy, and
Oh.
Yeah, I've had.
yeah, make
Lou,
sure you
can
guys
I ask you a
rewatch the video on
question?
YouTube, okay?
Yeah, go ahead. What's the question?
Yeah.
When you were in Rome and the atmosphere when they were the Pope's death and what was the feeling that you got?
Well, it was very busy. There's a lot of media there from all over the world trying to capture with the smoke, would come out, whether it be white or black. That's when the
Yeah,
so
I'm Catholic, so I'm familiar with this. So that whole thing.
and then we left Rome the day before they actually elected the Pope.
Mm-hmm.
So then a lot of people were saying, "Oh, you guys, you should have stuck around," but all of our hotels are already booked, so we had to stay in sequence.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't bother me that we left. It didn't bother me at all, because as I mentioned before, I was there in 1977 hitchhiking when I was a kid through Rome when the last pope died, when one of the other popes died, and I saw that big thing that they have in St. Peter's Square. And it was just I'm sure it was just a huge mass of people, so much so that you can't even move almost. Probably 1 million people almost filling up the square to see the Pope make a speech out of the balcony above. But there was definitely an excitement around. The amount of clergy was unbelievable. I mean, there was clergies and cardinals. Every other person, it seemed, had a collar on.
Mm-hmm.
Literally. So
Hi.
Lou,
Well,
Yeah.
there was a
lemon
group
drink, that lemon drink that you had, Lou, what's the closest thing to that here?
it's like a limoncello. So you have, what do they call those? It's like really a sugary, high alcohol drink. We
Oh,
have those here.
oh, never mind, man.
Like a peppermint schnapps. Anybody ever have peppermint schnapps?
I've had peach schnapps.
Peach
Yeah.
schnapps. Yeah. Yeah, it's like a schnapps, with a
Oh, okay.
super sugary. My wife and I would have a couple shots every night, and we in the terms of a Detroiter, we copped a pretty good buzz,
Well, your arthritis is not as bad as many people. You could go down in that well and walk.
Yeah, that's what
Oh,
I'm
that's
looking
walk.
at. It.
You don't
doing a
have
lot better,
arthritis,
a lot
Lou.
better than a whole bunch of us with arthritis.
I'm telling you.
Well, I know I have a certain amount that I can do every day, and I can only do so many steps and all that, and then I got to cut off. But yeah, well, that's why I had to get it in. I had to get this trip in while I could. But
Is
Yeah.
Matthew in college? Is Matthew in college now?
No, my son dances for the Palm Beach Ballet in Florida.
Oh,
Yeah,
Wow.
he used to dance for the Boston Ballet, and he danced for the Philadelphia Ballet, for the Pennsylvania Ballet, and then the Washington Ballet. So he's a professional ballet guy.
Wow.
wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. He's a handsome young
Yeah, he is.
Wonderful.
Yeah, he's had an exciting life, but he's at a point where he's got to make a transition. He's
Yeah.
later 20s now. You can't last that long in that profession. It also doesn't pay all that well, and so
So he's going to become a priest.
well, he was thinking about it, but now he's looking more towards. He wants to become a what do they call it? Not a therapist, but a social worker. He's going for a social worker.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Well, if he's got your attitude, he'd make a good one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if he got your gift for gab and your understanding of people, he'll be a good one.
It's in his DNA. It's in his DNA.
Yeah.
And Monique is delightful.
Oh,
she is. She's a pretty lady.
She puts up with me. That's the most important thing.
Hey.
Let's all say thank you to Lou for today's session.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you so much.
Right, thanks, everybody.
We'll see you next Wednesday at 12.
Okay, thank you, Lou.
Thanks,
Lou.
Very good presentation.
Thank you, Lou.
Special
Thanks,
topic next
everybody.
week.
Thanks a lot.
Y'all
Thanks for
next
tuning
You
in.
need the milk.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I
All
appreciate
See
it.
y'all next
Can't
week.
wait for
for
next
another lunch
week.
club.
Friday when you got
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you. See you all soon for Jordan and Module 3. Have a good day.
Thank
Okay.
you, Alex. Thank
Thank
you.
you all. Thank you, Lou.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks,
Have a great
Alex. Thank you.
day. See you soon.
Thank you,
Thank
Lou.
you.